This week, we jump into the new year of 2025, and I want to ask you, are you ready for the change that's going to be happening? And not, no, this is a new year, so it's going to be a new you if you try. Everything is changing this year, and January really kicks us off with a lot of major changes that we'll be talking about as we go through the astrology of the next month. But my question for you is, are you ready? Because this happens whether or not you like it. And you can either enjoy the ride or you can be afraid of it. You can resist it and you can make it a lot harder than it needs to be. And this week, I think there's a lot of opportunities to see how we're going to go about these changes and be excited for it. So let's go ahead and jump into the report. Welcome back to the Astrology Report. My name is Cam White, if you don't know me already. And this week, we are talking about December 30th of 2024 into January 5th. Of 2025. This is the first weekly of this year, and I hope you guys are ready to lock in. I know that word in that phrase is overused, but what I mean by lock in is not necessarily like, yeah, we're going to get focused, we're going to get serious, but kind of like a roller coaster. You might be nervous about riding the roller coaster. You may not like roller coasters. You might be scared of the roller coaster, but your ass is sitting in the seat and the underpaid employee has locked the little thing into you so you can't leave the ride. That's what I mean by locked in. You are on the ride whether you like it or not. And this week, I find very powerful, as well as the rest of this month. The reason I'm excited for like this month and this week is we just start slowly getting one transit after another that makes this whole big buildup into what is going to be the spring and really this year of 2025 with all of the changes. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. So we're starting Monday off with the moon ingressing into Capricorn. We have the new moon in Capricorn, and then throughout the day after the moon will then be applying to a sextile with Saturn. This is on December 30th. I literally can't express enough how awesome it is that we get the new moon in Capricorn right before the new year. My question for you is, what are you planning? What is the plan? You know, it's so funny. I wasn't even that motivated to do this video, but now it's just coming out of me. I was just thinking about this earlier. All of my clients I've had, everyone's got some big ambition, some big goal, some big thing that they want to change in their life. And it all comes down to the same thing. Like, why aren't they doing it? They all want it. They all want to make the change, but we're not doing it. It's not happening. And then outside circumstances happen that we think, oh, this is a bad thing. That means I shouldn't be doing it, when it's the exact opposite. It's like, oh, you want to start that business, but then all of a sudden you get fired from your job. Oh, well, then that's the sign that the universe is trying to get you to start that business. You just need to fucking quit your job. I say all that to say, what is the plan? Is this going to be another year of the same fucking bullshit? So many of you guys buy your bullshit. You all lie to yourselves. You say, oh, I want this, but I can't do it. And you know you can. And you buy your silly little bullshit excuse every time. How expensive is it? How much money have you spent on buying your bullshit? I say this because as we start this week on a Monday with the new moon, right before the new year, what is the plan? And it's not necessarily like, what's the plan? You know, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. I want you to feel the pain. I want you to go, okay, this is the plan. It's easy to plan around the new year. It's easy to say, oh, it's a new year, it's a new me. But at what point in 2024, and what point in 2023, and at what point in 2022 did you veer off that path? Did you veer off your New Year's resolution? And my question for you is this going to be another year? Or is this going to be the year that changes everything? Because the astrology changes. Everything changes this year. It's one of those things where it's like, everything's changing, so you might as well do the changes, because guess what? Things are going to change whether you like it or not. Where you are at today in your life is not where you're going to be at the end of this year. I can't express this enough. By the way, you know why? Because I've just been doing this long enough to where I've talked to clients for like 4 years at this point, where it's like, you could see like, okay, this is what's going to happen. We talk about it, and then that time passes, and then that thing happens, and then they come back and they're like, well, I wasn't expecting that to happen. I'm not angry at any of my clients, but it's just one of those things of like, shit changes. And by this whole year change, what are you going to do? Do you want to be proactive in that change? Do you want to be a participant in your life or not? Over on my memberships on my website, I titled this month something. I forgot. I do a monthly horoscope. I call it the game plan. I forgot what I titled this month, but I was thinking about a couple days ago. I was like, oh, I wish I would have changed. I wish I would have called it the cold plunge. January is about a cold plunge. January is about everything going into water signs and it being very wet and it being very cold. And it's not going to feel good but it's the shock that we need. It's the shock therapy that we need. And I really look at Monday as like, okay, like the more that you sit and you toil in your emotions about jumping into the cold plunge, the worse it gets. The more that you shut off those emotions and you just stick to the plan, which is take the cold plunge, it'll get invited. By the way, you're talking to, I hate cold plunge. I fucking hate cold plunges. I don't do that shit, by the way, because I hate it. I hate it that much. I hate cold. I take boiling hot showers and I take like 3 of them a day during the winter. But I'm using this as an analogy as there's a lot of uncomfortable things that we have to do. But what's great about the moon being in Capricorn and just Capricorn in general, like, well, the moon's about emotions, right? And the moon's in detriment in Capricorn. It's not a time about expressing emotions. It's a time of just basic reality and resources, right? So we start the week off with the new moon in Capricorn. And I want you to actually take some fucking time out and actually reflect and ask yourself, what is actually going to change? What am I like? Take fucking life seriously. Like it's really amazing to me how many people don't actually take their life seriously. Really. So then we get to Tuesday. Tuesday is the moon in Capricorn. It's going to make a trine to Uranus. It's going to make a sextile to Neptune. The thing I wrote down was like unnoticeable solutions, unremarkable solutions. Like when the moon, the closest body to us, is making a contact to a planet that's literally like we can't even visibly see with our eyes. There's things that are happening, like solutions and movement that we're just not necessarily aware of that is happening, if that makes sense. So Tuesday is just continuing that theme, building up. Not a lot's going on Tuesday, which is great. Tuesday is really good, in my opinion, because there's not this calamity. There's not this huge thing happening before the new year. We can get quiet. We can get settled. We can get focused for the new year. And then we jump into Wednesday. Welcome to 2025. Here is the rest of your life. We are in the middle of the decade. Think about that. 2020 was not a very long time ago. You know, as I get older, I'm 28. And I know a lot of people say that's young. I talk to old people all the time, so I know how young I am. But I've really been reflecting on how much I want to do, and how much of it I haven't done in these past 4 years. These past 4 years have genuinely been so weird in terms of like, oh, wow, all of these things happen, yet nothing happened at the same time. Like what? Like it's so anyway, I say that because we're in the middle of the decade now. We're almost to the 2030s. We are almost to the 2030s. Think about that for a minute. How much of life has passed you by? And here we are at the beginning of the year. And now here's the thing with the beginning of the year. We start the year off on a Wednesday with the moon ingressing into Aquarius. It's going to conjoin Pluto. And then the moon goes opposite Mars for the whole day. It's the new year. And now what? The moon's going to go into Aquarius and conjoin Pluto, go opposite Mars. It's not the worst day, but it's definitely like not the greatest astrology day. There's a lot of emotional confrontation with things. The moon's conjoining Pluto. There's a lot of fear. The moon's conjoining Mars. There's a lot of, again, fear, frustration, anger. With the moon going into Aquarius and conjoining Pluto, again, what's difficult about doing astrology the way that I do it is I want to talk about the personal development stuff, right? But then there's also like geopolitical, economic shit that's going on that this, I would argue, is a little bit more important for. So I don't want to get too caught up in that. The reason being is I want you guys, like, again, none of this astrology, none of the geopolitical shit matters at the end of the day. Like, you know, you got to live your life. Like, you're not going to be on your deathbed, be like, why didn't I read more tweets about Al-Qaeda offshoots taking over Syria? Why didn't I read more tweets and posts about, you know, Gaza? Like, realistically, you're not going to regret that. And if you do, you don't have a life worth looking into or looking up to. So, and that's some harsh truth, but that's fucking real. Now, when the moon conjoins Pluto, and there is this kind of overwhelming fear, right? What I like about the moon conjoining Pluto is this invisible planet. When I say invisible, we just can't see it, but it's about power and fear. And have you ever like noticed something? Like, have you ever just like fell off? Like, you're like, I feel afraid of something and I can't really tell why. There's just like an essence in the air. That's what like the moon conjoining Pluto reminds me of. But the other thing is like Pluto has power at the end of the day. And so many of you are incredibly powerful, but you put yourself into circumstances in which you suppress your own power. You're afraid of your own power. And my kind of question for you is like, what if you weren't afraid of your own power? What if you took initiative over your own power? What if you accepted who you were? What if you accepted the things that are in your control to do? What if you took radical responsibility and you, again, were enlightened with willpower, with just power in general? What would your life look like? And the reason I say this is the first day of the year. Moon's conjoining Pluto, it's going opposite Mars. It's like, okay, beginning of the year, here's your first problem. Mars is retrograding Leo. A lot of people are losing confidence right now. And it's one of those things, in my opinion, like this is not the time to lose confidence. And again, I've talked a lot about astrology is a time honoring exercise. The moon, like, yeah, Mars going into Leo, going retrograde is a time to work through our confidence. Yes. Is it a time to have confidence issues? Yes, that's what's going to be appropriate. But is it the time to be like, oh, well, I just don't have confidence right now? No, it's a time to ask a deeper question. Why don't we have confidence? Why are we struggling with that? What does it mean to lack confidence? Does it mean that there's actually something that we want, but there's a discrepancy between what we want and where we're at, and so then we tuck our tail between our legs? Okay, why is there a discrepancy between what we want and where we're at? Are we realizing that maybe we're not good enough to get to the things that we want? Is that what it is? And some people are going to be like, oh, Cameron, well, we're all good enough. We're all equal. No, we're not. If you don't think you're good enough, if your subconscious fucking mind does not believe that you're good enough, you're not good enough. That's the fucking reality. There's people that do believe that they're good enough, and they are good enough because they have the result of it. Do you deserve food and water and shelter? Yes, of course you do. But it's one of those things that if you don't believe you do, you're not going to get it. And so I look at this moon going opposite Mars is really looking at that discrepancy of like, I'm losing confidence. Here's what do I want to do? Why do I not have the confidence to get there? And the moon in Aquarius conjoining Pluto is going opposite Mars and Leo is like, hey, detach yourself from what it means. Like, for example, if you want to be a performer on stage, you are embodying a character. If a director is giving you notes about you're not doing this thing right, it's not because you are a bad person and you are not good enough. It is, hey, this is the character and I need you to mold yourself into that character. That's kind of the idea here. Like, it's not about like, oh, you don't have confidence because you're not good enough because there's something inherently wrong with your soul, with your spirit. No, that's not what it is. It's just that like you are putting yourself, you are injecting your worth. You are injecting you are making this story up as to why you can't do things. And it's one of those things where you just have to take yourself out of it. Take the ego out of it. If someone is giving you criticism, listen and don't take it personally because they're trying to help you. And I look at this moon opposite Mars situation as a really good time to say like, okay, I have to take myself out of this. And what I mean by myself is that this is what my ego wants. My ego wants to be the best at everything I do the first time that I do it. And it's not how shit is. You're going to suck ass. You're going to look retarded and you're going to suck. That's just the reality of things when you first do it. But don't be afraid to learn. Don't be afraid to do these things. So I'm just hounding on this transit because it's like, look, guys, like this is what I'm subscribed to doing this for the rest of my life. Like, you guys just watch me. I'm a human being. My job is to tell people what's going on with the space weather and what it means for their lives. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, well, it's just going to be like, I can't live with this anymore. I can't sit here and just be like, oh, it's just another day. It's just another day. Well, that's not going to be your whole fucking life. Like, every moment is magical. And I think that's what makes astrology so fucking cool. And it's so often that we just fucking refuse to look at the magic in every moment. And I know that sounds super gay, but what I mean by that is like Wednesday, January 1st, the global collective consciousness is focused on we are literally in a new time. That's important. So that's happening. What are you going to do different during this time? Can you make this moment more meaningful than it is? Because it's just another day at the end of the day. Sun comes up, sun goes down. That's all it is. But can you do something different? And the thing to do on Wednesday is whatever you're trying to pursue, whatever you're trying to push, understand that it's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy and you will look dumb, but you will get through it and you will improve after this. So long as you are willing to take your ego out of the picture and you're not afraid to look dumb. The thing is with Mars and Leo is you have to have humility. Some of you like are so afraid of looking dumb, but you look so much more dumb not doing anything like that is going to improve your life. Like some of you drink stupid bitch juice all fucking day, but the cup says like boss bitch. Like it says boss bitch, but it's just stupid bitch juice in the drink. I'm sorry I'm being so fucking harsh, but I'm getting to this point where like, what is the point of astrology? What is the fucking point of watching these goddamn horoscopes if no one's gonna fucking do anything? I don't want to fucking talk to people that don't want to do anything. I don't. It's such a waste of my fucking breath. So Mars is retrograding over my sun, okay? This is how I'm feeling. So we get to Thursday. Thursday's a big day, so buckle up, Buttercup. We have the moon while it's in what? Aquarius, making a trine to Jupiter, and then it's going to square Uranus. We have 3 highlights on Thursday. Mercury leaves shadow. Venus enters Pisces. Mars is going to be retrograde and going to go opposite Pluto. So the moon is in Aquarius trining Jupiter. Wonderful, splendid, great. Nothing wrong with that. The moon will make a square to Uranus. There's a little bit of disruption. Whatever. But first things first, Mercury leaves shadow. This past month, this Mercury retrograde for me has been it has been a practice in letting go. I have had to be so fucking present in the moment. And I'm not like that. I'm a planner. I'm like, this is what I got going on. This is what I'm doing. And just, that's not how life works for me. This past month was just genuinely letting everything go and going, okay, I've got to just be present in the moment and do what's in front of me. And it was genuine. I want to call this this is probably one of the hardest months. I don't want to say of my life. Like it wasn't like deep or emotional. It was just genuinely, there was so much that was so disorganized and everything so on fire that was really difficult. Mercury's out of shadow now. We get to move on to new territory, whether you like it or not. I say this because Mercury's still in detriment. We have a Mercury-Neptune square coming up. So Mercury leaving shadow is okay. I think it was November 25th was when Mercury entered shadow. So from November 25th till now, we're done. It's over. We've moved on. We're on to a different thing. Mercury's still in detriment, but now we're at the beginning of the year. What has happened, and you've got to get your mind ready to go. No matter what, you got to just move on mentally. Don't be afraid to leave stuff behind. Again, it's like going to the airport. You're like, oh my God, what's going on? Am I going to leave this? Did I forget this? Don't worry about it. Like, you got to get to the airport on time. Just go to the airport. You can buy anything you'll ever need at whatever destination you're going to if you forget it. But I want to talk about Venus and Pisces. I look at this transit. I've been doing this for a long fucking time. I've been doing this for a long ass time, to be honest with you guys. I've looked at a lot of astrology. Why is it? So Venus is going to be in Pisces from all of January, a good part of February. It will go retrograde in Aries in March. It will go back into Pisces around the end of March, mostly all April. And it will stay in Pisces for most of April, and I think even a little bit into May. Maybe I think it leaves Pisces at the end of April. So we're in April of 2025. We're 4 months in, and we're still having Venus in Pisces. So think about that for a moment. Venus, it's like 3 weeks in a sign. She's usually pretty quick, but she's going to be in this area of the sky for the next 4 to 5 months. Venus is about pleasure and fun and connection. She is exalted in Pisces. This is her favorite sign to be in. Why is it her favorite sign? So Venus, if she's about fun, if she's about pleasure, Pisces is about, again, like, dissolving of, like, there's so much to really talk about with Pisces, but the way I've always interpreted it as, look, when you don't have any sort of strict ways of things having to be done, like for like Venus and Pisces, just like freedom, if that makes sense. Like, hey, love is love, fun is fun, pleasure is pleasure. That's just what it is, regardless of what it looks like. What I want to bring up is, as Venus is evening star right now, evening star Venus is much more receptive. Like, the universe is throwing things at you and it's asking, do you want this? Do you like this? Do you want more of this? And Venus is in Pisces, and it's not like Venus in Capricorn where it's like business, or Venus in Aquarius. Like, what do you guys think? Venus in Pisces is like, do I actually like this? Do I actually like what the universe is throwing at me? Am I receiving pleasure? And as Venus is evening star, max evening star right now, she's receiving all of this quote unquote pleasure. Do you even enjoy it though? Because as she goes retrograde, there's a reevaluation of what we want. There's a reevaluation of our desires. And then Venus stations direct and is saying, I actually want this instead. And so over the next couple months, there's going to be this reevaluation of what we want. And right now, we're in this receptive zone of being able to just understand. Like, there's a thing of like, I've noticed as a human being, there's times where I'm like, I think I know what I want. And then there's other times where I can kind of like actually be really honest with myself about what I want. And I don't understand all the time as to why sometimes I have like an idea of what I want. And then there's times where I can get quiet and I can actually get truthful about what I want. Now, Venus is really good at doing her job in Pisces. She's excellent. So having fun, making connections, relationships, beauty, arts, it's all possible. She has all of the tools and even more of the tools and resources that she needs to do her job. So what I mean by that is, over these next few months, it's going to be easy to get what you want. But the thing is, as Venus is going to go into shadow, you're going to realize you may not even want this. What do you actually want? And I find that Venus going into Pisces this isn't just, Venus is going to Pisces is what it is. Dude, we're in this for like 4 months. this is a little bit deeper. I want you to really pay attention to what part of your chart Pisces rules over, and what houses does Venus rule, and what's going on there. Because this is in my opinion, this is a big part of it. So Venus goes into Pisces. Love it. Then on Thursday, we have Mars still retrograde in Leo going opposite Pluto. There's a lot to talk about here, but again, Mars retrograde in Leo is that lack of confidence, that having to take our ego out of things. And as it's opposite Pluto, like I don't know how, if there was one thing I could inject you guys with in terms of beliefs, because I've just noticed I'm different and I have this belief and it's so ingrained in me that it's a part of my existence so deeply, and a lot of people don't. You have to stop caring about what other people think. There is you, and again, this is all subconscious, by the way. Why don't you wear the most outrageous outfit ever? And it's because you would look ridiculous, or at least that's what you think everyone else would think of you. So you change your behavior based off an assumption of what everyone else thinks. There's so much that you do in your life that you don't even realize is because you are making up stories as to what other people will think about it. And then you make a conclusion as to what you should do based off that assumption. So much of your life is based off that. It genuinely is. And there's a subconscious part of it to it, right? And that's an important thing in society, right? To like, again, understand what, what's normal, what's acceptable and stuff like that. But there's another part of it though, too, that it's like, even things that you just want to do that are simple, you don't allow yourself to do because of, what is everyone else going to think? What is everyone else going to do? And I just want you, like, I can't emphasize this enough. Like you're going to die alone. No one else matters except what's on your heart. Something I keep talking a lot about is like, what people keep asking, people come to astrology for purpose a lot. And like, I think trying to define, like, here's like, your purpose is whatever is in your heart of hearts, whatever is your soul, your spirit, you as a human being, whatever your name is, whatever you're like, I want to do this, or maybe I want to do that, or like that thing right there. That is God that has given you something to put into this world. And that's your job. That's your purpose. It's just whatever is like, you know what? If I had all the time and the money in the world and all the resources to do anything, what would I be doing? That's it. Do you see a solution to a problem? That's what you're supposed to be doing. That's your whole fucking purpose. And also, if you try to like intellectualize your purpose, it's really dumb. It's really pointless. Like your role in life means something different to every single different person. So it doesn't even matter getting wrapped up in it. So you should just be doing what's on your heart. You should just be doing what you want to do anyway, and stop worrying about, is this the right thing? Is this the wrong thing? If you get more and more clear about what's in your heart, you don't have to ask that question anymore. So I say all that with the Mars retrograde opposite Pluto is there's a power dynamic being locked up here. Mars is about fights and conflicts, and opposite Pluto and Aquarius. Now you're going to see this a little bit more in the collective in terms of like, just there's contrast right now with how people feel about other people and all that other shit. That's a whole other story. But I just want to come back to, like, you kind of have to face the music. Like Mars retrograde, opposite, especially in Leo, just the Leo Aquarius axis is the individual versus the collective. And a lot of people just shut the fuck up about how they feel about stuff because they don't want to offend other people, or they don't want to rustle up feathers, or they're worried about what everyone thinks about them. And there's an opportunity to shut yourself down on Thursday. And if you want to lose, Thursday's a great, if I'm speaking to people that are in the market to lose, I think Thursday's a great day to lose. It's going to be easy to lose. Now, if I'm talking to people who want to win, and I'm talking to people who are in the marketplace of overcoming struggles, of being better, well, Thursday's going to be a challenge. Thursday's an opportunity to really to download some new software is probably a good way to look at it. And the new software is, okay, for example, you may not have a good show. So let's say like you're a stand-up comedian. You didn't kill, but you didn't bomb. And you got to ask yourself, when am I going to get better? When am I going to do the work that it takes to get better? Because again, let's say you think you're hot shit and you doing stand-up and just no one's laughing. It's been a while since you've killed. You've got to actually say, hey, what can I do better? And it's not about, hey, you're dumb, or hey, you're not good enough. It's like, you're not good enough as a human being to do the things that you want. You got to say, okay, take yourself out of it. Take the ego out of it and just say, what can I do to improve? What can I do to improve? That's what Thursday's about with the Mars retrograde and Leo opposite Pluto. You're going to get feedback saying, hey, you're not good enough. Hey, this is what's going on. What are you going to do about it? And you could sit there and beat yourself up and say, oh, well, stupid me for trying, stupid me for wanting to live it. No, you can say that. It's retarded. I wouldn't suggest doing that. But it's going to be easy to do. You should be doing those saying, okay, feedback is often harsh, but always fair. And I've got to readdress some things. Man, we're 30 minutes deep on a weekly and we're just now getting to Friday. A good one. So we get to Friday. I love Friday. Friday is the moon going into Pisces and it's just going to conjoin Venus and that's it. I struggle more with this because I don't have anything water in my chart and Pisces rules like my fourth house. So there's just like, I have a very weird relationship with Pisces, but with the moon in Pisces, there is this emotional, like the moon in Pisces is such a sponge, and the moon in Pisces is so like absorbent of energies, regardless of what it is. And the moon conjoining Venus in Pisces is so soft. It's so calming. It's so relaxing. Like Friday is so good for like, when I was writing this down, I'm like, if you are ever going to Colorado and if you are ever going to Aspen or if you are driving to Colorado and if you're flying to Denver and if you can make the trip to Glenwood Springs and you go to the Yampa Vapor Caves, that was genuinely one of the coolest things I've ever experienced. And it was intense and it was amazing. And I keep thinking about it. And it's a cave. You go deep into this cave and it's just this hot sauna cave. It's crazy. It's like dark and it was just so hot and so humid. I mean, like my eyeballs steamed up walking in there. Like I couldn't see when I walked. It freaked me out. It took my breath away. But it was amazing. And I look and it was so quiet. I mean, you just hear like water dripping in a cave. And I think about how relaxed I was there. And I think about the moon and Venus with that. There's something about the moon and Venus about really just being like sensually relaxed. The other part of it, though, is that this is really good for like falling in love. This is really good for like creating a beautiful piece of art. This is really good for just like expressing your love to your friends or connecting with your loved ones or reminiscing on the things that you like or enjoying a good food. There's something awesome about Friday. Really, there's something awesome. But the thing that I want to bring up is like, sure, Venus isn't in shadow yet, right? But this is going to like... Venus is in Pisces. She's going to keep building up into this Venus retrograde stuff. So I really want you to pay attention to Friday because Friday is fucking awesome. It's genuinely really, really good. But there's something to it that's like really important. Like, oh, this is really, really good. And it's really important. We get to Saturday. The moon, while it's in Pisces, will square Jupiter and conjoin Saturn as the sun makes a sextile to Saturn. That's our other highlight that's our last highlight for the week. The moon squaring Jupiter and conjoining Saturn is getting very distracted. Enjoy Friday. Saturday is going to be all over the place. The thing about Pisces is it's very energetically spongy, if that makes sense. And the moon in Pisces squaring Jupiter and Gemini is like, you can only handle so much information all at once. And the moon conjoining Saturn is you have to set up boundaries. A lot of people have said, Cameron, I miss your old apartment. I do too. I cried leaving that house. Like, that's not something I fucking do, by the way. That house meant so much to me in so many different ways. But when and I know I've joked about this. I've joked about it before because I joke a lot about a lot of stuff. But at that house, the combination of there was a motorcycle guy that would spend hours, literally hours every day doing wheelies downtown, and it would just be so loud. There'd be homeless people screaming like it was the zombie apocalypse. There'd be sirens. There would just be chatter. There was a restaurant below me that played Italian music, and it was so charming sometimes, and other times when it was everything else, it was overwhelming. And I can't get anything done like that. And it was maddening. It genuinely drove me crazy. And like this moon and again, like Pisces rules my fourth house of living situation. And like the moon and Pisces conjoining Saturn is like, I had to set up a fucking boundary, which was I had to fucking leave. Like, and the reason I left Denver and Colorado in general is Denver is very different than what it was 10 years ago. It's really not worth the price that you're paying. I would rather live in California for those prices because they're California prices, but you don't get anything relatively close to living in California in Denver. So that's why. And my family lives here and I want to be closer to them. But where I live in Vegas right now, I live on the west side. It's so quiet. Everyone's like, Cameron, your room's boring. I know. I want it to be. I want it to be. I want to be in isolation. I want to be in a deprivation tank so I can focus on my work. And the moon in Pisces squaring Jupiter and Gemini is I can't work when there's a motorcycle literally for hours just just doing wheelies up and down. There's music, there's screaming, all that stuff. And I just couldn't get anything done. So I'm ranting on this because on Saturday, when the moon squares Jupiter and conjoin Saturn, you're gonna get me. you're going to understand where I'm coming from. And it's a really excellent time to say, okay, I've got all of these things going on. There's all these distractions. There's all these loud noises. It's going to take all your attention away. The moon's going to conjoin Saturn. You've got to set up some sort of boundary. You've got to sort of at least set up an energetic boundary, if that makes sense. Like for me, I'm getting to a point in my life, and I just want you to not judge me on this and just hear me out, and maybe you'll think about it more as time goes on. I'm getting to a point in my life where I don't actually want to step into a gas station anymore. I don't want to step into a gas station ever again in my life. I don't want that. Like the subconscious is real, guys. People, like wherever you're at, you're going to get influenced by. I don't want to be around things like what that attracts, what that brings in. I don't want that anymore in my life. And I've got to set up that boundary, and it's hard. But I'm saying all to say Saturday has that feeling. Now, the other part about Saturday is the sun makes a sextile to Saturn. Great. Really good for discipline, getting some work done, like slow and steady wins the race. Perfect. But I think another part of it is like the strength through willpower. Like the sun's still in Capricorn, Saturn's in Pisces. There's a lot of willpower strength here. There's a lot of setting boundaries. There's a lot of just getting shit done. I like Saturday, but you're going to get me on Saturday. You're going to get where I'm coming from. Then we get to Sunday. The moon in Pisces will make a square to Mercury. Then it's going to conjoin Neptune. Then the moon ingresses into Aries and conjoins the North Node and makes a trine to Mars. And then the moon makes a sextile to Pluto immediately after. Sunday's interesting. The moon, while it's in Pisces, makes a square to Mercury in Sagittarius and then conjoins Neptune. This is very lost in the sauce. This is very, one time I was looking up something about Colorado. I don't even know what I was looking up, but then it turned into like, I did this deep research on, there was this like war between corporations and miners in Colorado, for like over silver. And then I learned about like silver Democrats and how silver and gold and the financing in like I think it was like the 1870s or something like that was being brought up. Anyway, I just got super down into this. I just learned a lot. Now that's kind of the mood on Sundays. Like the moon squaring Mercury is like, try not to get distracted. Maybe you need a distraction time. I think those are fine. Like sometimes you just need to like do, like, again, what I like to do with my life is I'm a manifesting generator. I don't talk a lot about human design, but I'm getting more into it just in terms of another tool to optimize my life. And I am, and the big reason was I was trying to build a schedule for myself. Like, how do I get my shit done? And for me, I just have like, these are all like, in fact, here's my list. These are all, this isn't like, oh, wake up, eat food. These are all things that are going to at least take me at the minimum, like 2 hours to do. If not, some of these are like one of the, like January, 2025 year aheads. Those are like 12 hours of recording right there. I'm saying all that to say whenever I have time, I'm just going to cross this, cross that. Like I'm recording this video and then, I got to go like hang up art at some point. It's not I'm going to do this at this way. I'm going to just I have to have something in front of me to do. And I'm just going to do whatever I can to cross off whatever I can at that list at whatever point. I'm saying all that to say is the moon's in Pisces squaring Mercury and Sag conjoining Neptune. Maybe it's not about work. Maybe it's not about something else, but just focus in on something else. Don't be afraid to go down a wormhole. Try to make it productive. If it's not productive, I think maybe that's okay. Just not sitting there and vegging out, if that makes sense. But then the moon goes into Aries. So that's Sunday morning, right? Like Sunday morning is kind of like, whoa, I'm a little bit confused. I'm a little bit distracted. But then the moon goes into Aries and conjoins the North Node and trines Mars. Guys, Parker, pull up I know the chart's already here, but pull it up more. The moon is going to enter Aries and conjoin the North Node and trine Mars in Leo for the last time. Next week, nodes go into Pisces and Virgo. Next week, Mars goes into Cancer. We get this supercharge of energy that we don't get after this. The North Node is not going to be in Aries for another like almost 20 years. And again, here's the other thing. Saturn goes into Aries and Neptune goes into Aries. Our relationship to Aries over the past year and a half has been like super drive, super focused. This is where we're going, which, by the way, I've been super correct about. I said, if you've been watching me, I said the North Node in Aries and the South Node in Libra is like peace was never an option. And I don't know if you heard about this. I was hearing about Israel and Palestine and how Netanyahu was essentially like the whole idea was like pretty much bomb the shit out of them because they were betting on a Trump win and Trump was going to make it like pretty much end. So they were like, fuck listening to the United States. We're just going to do whatever we want because we know that this is going to end anyway. Crazy to think that the North Node in Aries and the South Node in Libra and like peace was never going to happen. But it's going to be funny that right as we get into January and that ends, the war tune changes. But anyway, the moon going into Aries and conjoining the North Node is like a lot of intense action and it's going to trine Mars in Leo. There is a spurt of energy. There's a spurt of action that I want you to take on Sunday. because we're not going to get it again. Aries is about to have Neptune influence, where it's going to get really weird. It's going to get really weird here really soon. And a Saturn energy where there's a lot of restrictions. There's a lot of discipline. There's a lot of responsibility here. It's going to get really weird in this area. So this is our last little just spurt of gas, like 91, 93 octane gasoline that we're dumping into some turboed out four banger. And it's going to be easy to go quick. It's going to be easy to move forward. And I want you to, because we may not get, we're not going to get this kind of a lineup again. And it's really good for getting things to move forward, because as we go through the rest of the month, Mars is going to go retrograde into Cancer. That's going to be harder to have that energy. And that brings us to next week. Mars is going to go retrograde back into Cancer. Mercury is going to make a square to Neptune. Mercury is going to ingress into Capricorn. The nodes switch signs. And this is something that I have been deeply reflecting about, and I genuinely think it's the thing that really makes the spring is the nodes changing signs. Mars will be retrograde, and it's going to try Neptune next week, and the sun makes a trine to Uranus all next week. So if you haven't already, subscribe so you don't miss this weekly astrology. This year, we're going on a journey together. I'm going to make sure you know exactly what the fuck is going on and how to handle it. So if you haven't subscribed already, do it. Make sure you watch next week's weekly. Comment below. Let me know what you're excited for 2025 as well. It does help me out. And with that being said, I'll be seeing you guys next week.